Obviously, Afenyo Markins a chain Ghana this year bebre adwen asinyema bi so. Ebra John Dramani Mahama yi nipa me ensa so afo ba say oh vetting starting ya de no no start adwuma no. Ade say letter we different office e call ma she bedwafie. We have official letter. Madam Fokli, amamenche Okli we say official letter. Yeah. Na sa official letter no. John Dramani Mahama, he is the president. Our my Ghana nyina me no me yenim. But letter na if in office e call Parliament House no. John Mahama kwa and was so Dramani count. And yenim say wo check out ma o depends on ade bia na otwera utimi de nickname na odin court tabi na the association but say official letter who inform Parliament, the whole Parliament. Not just a mistake happen. And on nchen Afenyo Markins de letter no from so wom bebre just say and I just say I was a letter no kra komutimi reject man ko back no me say twere from man ba even no omo be wie kra no mistakes awo na ye bisa say the highest position our political party anasa manyosem say obi be mampanyi na wo ye mampanyi na letter be fu office be ba bontin na lot of mistakes ewom de ye anim guase kese e de ma o man Ghana enemy no mienu nyina because wo hwe se de NDC as a party yen NDC kran to now omo na di Ghana nyina so na ekoba se ene ya to aba ma mo na mo tia banwa so na mo kire letter ko the highest office to say Masebe Jofia na no so ekoba se mistake wo mu dia na entwa yi kra awusi anye bre na yankonkotie Afenyo Markins ene wa kirikire mu akazi su people say hey enya sam kitu letter abba from a year president of the Republic of Ghana in office mistakes in kwa yankonkotie mistakes ni bi na so tira adwen e comment say
demonstrating the relevancy John Mahama submit for consideration and approval of Parliament the following nominees for appointment. So paragraph 1 in itself has two major problems. When the president took an oath, he stated his name as John Dramani Mahama. He is not John Mahama. So the secretary got the name of the president wrong. Second, a communication from the president to the House shall be to the speaker in writing, signed by the president, or in the absence of the president, by the vice president, or by a minister authorized by the president. So we're from this letter from the secretary to Parliament. So ab initio, President Mahama's government has breached the standing orders of this House. He failed to write directly to Parliament. He got his secretary to write to us. And even so, that letter from the secretary let me read the letter in full. The letter is a letter that is not referenced. This is coming from Jubilee House. A letter that is not referenced, coming from Jubilee, without any reference. And it's addressed to Right Honorable Speaker, dated the 9th of January, 2025. Nomination of ministers for parliamentary approval. In accordance with Article 78(1) of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, I hereby, on behalf of His Excellency John Mahama, submit for consideration and approval of Parliament the following nominees for appointment. So paragraph 1 in itself has two major problems. When the president took an oath, he stated his name as John Dramani Mahama. He is not John Mahama. So the secretary got the name of the president wrong. Second, he says that he is doing so on behalf of His Excellency the President. He cannot. The letter should be properly constructed to state that he has been authorized. That is if we decide to even waive our the 65(1). He cannot just get up and say he is writing on behalf of the president. He doesn't have that mandate to do so. Then the letter did not also comply with the usual salutations that accompany such letters. These are supposed to be very diplomatic letters, and there are standards. Perhaps because the secretary is yet to go to Jubilee House proper, we'll pardon him because these things is supposed to follow due process. And then he ends by saying attached are their curriculum vitae and supporting document for vetting. I trust that Parliament will expedite the approval process in accordance with constitutional requirements. That's it, and he signs. No, yours sincerely, yours faithfully. He only signs, and then instead of proceeding to say that the president takes this opportunity to extend to Right Honorable Speaker his assurances of the highest esteem or consideration, all these things are missing. And we wonder why he had to do such an informal thing. Then he copies a letter to Secretary to Cabinet. There's no Secretary to Cabinet. There's no Cabinet. I don't know why. I don't know why. But I will pardon him and expect that in future he does the thing right. Because this is the Secretary to Cabinet Office, Jubilee House, Accra. I don't know where the Secretary to President is getting this from. Unless he says that they've already formed the cabinet, without the knowledge of Parliament, and that they are engaging in some unconstitutionality, which Honorable Ato Forson will describe it as banana republic. We are not a banana republic. We are not a banana republic. So, Secretary to President, Parliament is not even aware of your appointment, because under normal circumstances, the President is supposed to even communicate to Parliament. It is part of the imperatives of governance that he communicate to Parliament. So that is issue one. Issue one. Issue two. And let me be very clear. The minority in Parliament stands ready to support the formation of government within reasonable time. It is the reason why we waived the right to get the public to have a long period of notice, and we did so on the floor of the House. We are ready to support government. However, the cooperation we are promising hinges on the President demonstrating the requisite fortitude and transparency. The leadership of this country cannot afford the luxury of ambiguity. We urge His Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama, to summon the courage to present the full slate of his ministerial nominees, because this nation deserves no less. As I said of Parliament last week, the thought up. We are on break. Adjournment is up to 21st. Members are supposed to go to their constituencies, but we are ready to do the since on the 9th of January, when we had these three nominees being ferried to Parliament. The President has since not communicated anything. We wonder whether they are ready to govern. The election results was declared on the 8th of December, on the 9th of December. The President had the benefit of having his victory being communicated to the entire country on the 9th of December. We expected that within the 1 month after the declaration, he would put in place a team for this thought is unacceptable. Now, post-election violence and national security. Honorable Chair, equally pressing is the wave of violence and attacks that has swept across the nation in the aftermath of December 7th elections.
Mr. Chairman,
and the subsequent transition of power.
Mr. Chairman.
We acknowledge the President's recent call on the
Mr. Chairman,
IGP
please.
to investigate the election committee, Supreme Court nominees, before cameras. They raised issues about even the content of the communication from His Excellency the President. Why would Honorable Ayariga be offended and say I'm denigrating the presidency? It's part of public record. Go and watch it. You were a member of the committee where you questioned the language, the phrases used. You analyze each phrase of the president. It is your turn. Time. Please, it's your turn. Please be patient. Let me finish. Please, let me finish. Chairman, thank you very much.
Honorable Minority Leader, you know the chairman is a man with indomitable spirit. I will not be threatened. You may proceed.
Chairman, we cannot threaten you, and you know I won't threaten you, considering our special relationship.
Chairman, no, this is very important.
I will not threaten you.
I beg you. It's very important.
Chairman, do I have the floor?
It's very important.
Thank you very much. We acknowledge the President's recent call on the Inspector General of Police to investigate election-related deaths recorded in 2020 and 2024. A commendable step towards justice and accountability. However, the President has remained conspicuously silent on the escalating attacks on public and civil servants reportedly perpetrated by loyalists of his party, the NDC. These attacks, ostensibly to protect state assets, have reportedly targeted innocent citizens, including judicial officers, causing significant damage to private and public property. A deafening presidential silence in such troubling moments risks being construed as tacit endorsement of criminality. We make this point well aware of his earlier call for calm when he was president-elect. The concerns raised by the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana, CLOSA, regarding these attacks cannot be ignored, nor can we overlook the apparent failure of the police to suppress the situation and prosecute offenders. Indeed, the President's 5-member Internal Security Committee has thus far proven either incapable or unwilling to subdue this wave of lawlessness. Let it be clear, these acts of violence are an affront to the rule of law and must be addressed with urgency. Another form of violence that demands immediate and thorough investigation involves the verbal and physical attacks suffered by Electoral Commission officials at the hands of some NDC loyalists, including members of Parliament, claiming to protect the ballot. These individuals brazenly obstructed and assaulted election officers who were simply carrying out their lawful duties as returning or presiding officers. Such actions were not only unlawful, but represented a blatant disregard for election-related laws and protocols, undermining the sanctity of our democratic process. Per Section 40 of Representation of the People's Act, there is an unequivocal position in the law. Quote, a person who willfully obstructs or interferes with an election officer in the execution of his duty commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 1 million cedis or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years or both. The disturbing videos circulating publicly highlight the grave threat that these actions pose to our democracy. If approved, the nominee for Attorney General must ensure a thorough investigation and accountability for these violations, as no crime in pursuit of political power should go unpunished. Upholding justice and the rule of law requires that all, including NDC MPs, MPP MPs, and all loyalists of political parties who violate the law under the guise of protecting the ballot, face due consequences. This is about safeguarding Ghana's democratic integrity, not political partisanship. Mr. Chair, winning an election must not rest solely on the foundation of valid votes freely and lawfully cast in favor of a candidate, not on the degree of violence employed to intimidate or coerce those tasked with counting and tallying the results. Elections are the ultimate expression of the people's will, and any attempt to subvert this sacred process through intimidation or force undermines the very essence of democracy. Such actions cannot and must not be tolerated in a nation committed to justice, fairness, and the rule of law. Energy sector and the looming power crisis. Turning to the energy sector, it is deeply concerning to hear that the new administration attempting to shift blame for a so-called looming power crisis onto the previous government. Let the record clearly reflect the economy. These taxes include those who meet the highest standards of competence and character are entrusted with the reins.
I, Kasiel Atoba Forsen.
Swear by the Almighty God.
Swear by the
We want to assure you of our fullest cooperation in this endeavor, and also pray that you indulge us in all matters that we will raise for the good of our country and the governance of our country. Chairman, committee members, our distinguished colleagues of the 9th Parliament of the 4th Republic, as we convene this most solemn and consequential duties entrusted to us by the Constitution, the scrutiny of nominees for ministerial appointment. This process, developed by Parliament in fulfillment of its constitutional duty under Article 78 of the 1992 Constitution, is neither a ceremonial or perfunctory. It is an essential pillar of our democracy, designed to ensure that those called to high office are not only qualified, but are also prepared to serve with integrity, vision, and an unwavering commitment to the national interests. It's further buttressed versus Attorney General, where the Supreme Court clarified that while the phrase prior approval, as used in Article 78 of the 1992 Constitution, is not to be construed as a term of art, it includes substantive parliamentary scrutiny. This committee, therefore, shoulders the dual burden of exercising our oversight role while safeguarding the public interest. On this occasion, colleagues, we will be scrutinizing 3 nominees of admirable distinction. They are my respected colleague, Dr. Kasiel Atoba Forsen, Dr. Dominic Ayeni, and Honorable John Abdullahi Jenapo. Whilst we congratulate these nominees for in public service and their political credentials, we are also here to say that their mere stature is not enough, and that Parliament would have to meet its duty of prior approval by rigorously scrutinizing all of them. Suffice to state that we, the minority side, whilst observing the protocols and the practice of this House regarding how to treat, must address a procedural misstep that casts a shadow on the integrity of this process. As you may recall, the secretary